For questions like number 1 on the non-calculator section, it's helpful to know the first quadrant of the unit circle, and that'll actually help you. Well, so the actual number 1 is just asking you the ratios for all of the special angles in the first quadrant, and then number 4 is asking you for ratios in different quadrants. So we're going to do this thing this little trick we talked about in class to draw the first quadrant. 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 back up, all over 2, over 2. We're going to square root everything, but the square root of 1 is 1. All the numerators, I mean. So we don't write the square root of 1. We'll just leave it as 1. And then these are our angles. Okay, our smallest angle is 30 degrees, which is 180 pi divided by 6. Okay, so pi over 6. This is 45 degrees, which is pi over 4. And then we have 60 degrees, which is equal to pi over 3. Cosine is our x value in our unit circle, and sine is y. So these are actually all just coordinates, cosine, sine. So then if we want to figure out what cosine of, I don't know, let's say cosine of pi over 6, what's that? Oh, it's root 3 over 2, right? So all of these values come from knowledge of right triangles. So if we have a triangle where the hypotenuse is 1, and we actually just make this little equilateral triangle, well, then we figure out that this side is 1/2, because we just cut it in half. And then through Pythagorean theorem, we can figure out that this is square root 3 over 2, right? And then since this is an equilateral triangle, that's 60. And then this top angle is going to be 62, but if you cut it in half, it's 30. So then we say, well, what is sine of 60? What is opposite over hypotenuse? Well, it's root 3 over 2 divided by 1, so it's root 3 over 2. What's cosine of 60? It's 1/2. So cosine of pi over 3, again, cosine, pi over 3, 1/2. What is sine of pi over 3, 60 degrees? Oh, it's root 3 over 2. Okay, so we go to pi over 3, we go to sine. Oh, it's root 3 over 2. And we can do something similar with a 45, 45, 90 triangle. That's where these root 2 over 2 values come from. But rather than drawing this equilateral triangle every time and having to come up with these values, it's okay to just memorize them using whatever trick you want. So then using what we just did, we can figure out, oh, sine of pi over 6, easy, is 1/2. Okay, cosine of pi over 6, root 3 over 2. Okay, sine of pi over 4, root 2 over 2. Let's go back to our circle and reference it. Root 2 over 2 again. Okay, sine of pi over 3 is root 3 over 2. And cosine of pi over 3 is 1/2. And we're done.